Hi, I'm Nathan, 35, and when I tell people my mother tried to kill me, they think I'm exaggerating. I wish I were. She did it with cold eyes and steady hands while I lay in a hospital bed, fresh out of surgery, drugged and helpless. She yanked the oxygen from my nose and told me I'd thank her one day. Because my real crime? Loving a man she didn't approve of. Let me back up. I was recovering from a complicated abdominal surgery, laparoscopic hysterectomy due to advanced endometriosis and massive fibroids. Yeah, not your typical guy story, right? That's because this isn't about me, it's about my wife. My name's Nathan. I'm the husband. And my wife? Her name's Tiana, 32, graphic designer, whip-smart, loyal to a fault, and, for reasons no one has ever understood, her mother Gloria has never liked me. We live in Denver. I teach high school history. Tiana works for a marketing agency. No kids by choice. We'd been married 7 years and we're happy. Not Instagram perfect happy, but the real kind. We talked everything through. Even this surgery. When Dr. Reynolds told Tiana a hysterectomy was the best move for her pain and bleeding, I didn't hesitate. Let's do it, I said. Your health comes first. Gloria? Oh, she had opinions. No grandchildren now? She snapped at Tiana. What is this man doing to you? Tiana held her ground. We never wanted kids. This was my decision. Gloria scoffed like she'd heard a toddler declare their allegiance to broccoli. Fast forward to surgery day. I sat in the waiting room 6 hours while Dr. Reynolds worked her magic. Tiana's case was more severe than expected. There were complications, more bleeding. They needed oxygen post-op to keep her levels stable. When she finally came to, I was right there, holding her hand. Then Gloria showed up. Now, hospital visiting hours ended at 8 o'clock. I stayed overnight as her spouse. Gloria wasn't supposed to come back. But the woman lied her way in. Said it was an emergency. That emergency? She wanted Tiana to divorce me. Not a joke. While I was downstairs grabbing a sandwich, Gloria slipped into the room, stood over Tiana's bed, and calmly told her it was time to end our marriage. That this surgery was a reset button. Tiana told her no. Gloria told her, then maybe this will convince you, and ripped the oxygen line out of her nose. Tiana started gasping. The machines went wild. She tried to hit the nurse call button, but Gloria grabbed her wrist. She was going to let her own daughter suffocate unless she agreed to leave me. What happened next? It gets worse. The moment the alarm screamed, everything changed. Nurses burst in first, Angela and Terrence, rushing past Gloria like she was a misplaced visitor instead of a woman actively trying to kill her daughter. Angela took one look at Tiana, her skin pale and lips turning blue, and lunged for the oxygen hookup. She reconnected the nasal cannula, checked the saturation, 78%, dangerously low, and barked over her shoulder for security. I arrived seconds later. I'd heard the monitors from the cafeteria hallway and sprinted, tray still in hand. I saw Angela adjusting the oxygen, Tiana gasping, her hands trembling, and Gloria standing there like she was the victim. What the hell did you do? I yelled. She pulled out her own oxygen, Gloria said quickly, too quickly. I was just adjusting her blankets. It was an accident. She's lying, Tiana croaked, still struggling but able to speak again. She pulled it. On purpose. Angela glanced at me, then at Gloria, and her face hardened. She what? Terrence was already on the phone. Security to room 614. Possible medical tampering. Prepare for police intervention. I turned to Gloria. Are you insane? She just had major surgery. You could have killed her. Gloria looked around like we were all the crazy ones. I'm her mother. I have every right to speak to her about her life choices. That man is ruining her future. That man? I said, stepping between her and Tiana. I'm her husband. The one who's been by her side while she's been bleeding for months. Where were you then, Gloria? You think that gives you the right to steal my daughter? She snapped. To fill her head with lies? Angela stepped in. Ma'am, please step away from the bed. Now. Gloria didn't move. That's when security arrived. 2 guards, Officer Bradford and Officer Sullivan, strode into the room, calm but firm. "Ma'am," Bradford said, "we're going to need to speak with you outside." "She tried to kill me," Tiana said, her voice weak but clear. "She pulled out my oxygen to force me to leave Patrick." That hit the room like a hammer. Gloria sputtered. "I was just trying to help her see clearly." "She's been manipulated." Bradford cut her off. "Ma'am, please come with us." "Now." "I will not," she shouted. "This is persecution. I'm her mother." Bradford and Sullivan didn't budge. "This is attempted medical tampering at minimum, possibly attempted murder," Sullivan said. "We need you to come with us. If you resist, we will detain you by force." Gloria's expression twisted into something I'll never forget: rage, betrayal, and utter disbelief. As if we were the ones who'd wronged her. When she was finally escorted out, still shouting about ungrateful children and how I'd poisoned her daughter's mind, the hospital administrator arrived. Mr. Thompson looked horrified. "We are so sorry, Mr. Lawson." "Mrs. Lawson," he added, nodding to Tiana. "This is one of the worst incidents we've had involving unauthorized visitors. She claimed you requested to see her, which is why our staff let her in." Tiana's heart monitor beeped steadily beside us. I hadn't let go of her hand once. "I want her banned," I said. "From this hospital. From our home. She's already on the list," Mr. Thompson assured me. "Security will be posted at your door 24/7 until discharge. And we'll be filing our own report. What she did is, well, criminal." And it was. The next morning, the police returned, Detective Harrison this time. He took Tiana's statement, then mine, then the nurse's. They reviewed the hospital's security footage, which caught Gloria entering the room, the moment of the oxygen disconnection, and her being removed by security. "This is bad," Harrison said bluntly. "Given the patient's post-op condition, the oxygen was medically necessary. Her levels dropped below 80%. That's life-threatening. The DA may pursue attempted murder." Tiana squeezed my hand. She was pale but steady. "She didn't care if I died," she whispered. "As long as I did what she wanted." It was that realization that hit the hardest, not just that Gloria was controlling, but that she was willing to end her own daughter's life to stay in control. The charges came quickly: aggravated assault and reckless endangerment. Attempted murder was considered, but the DA went with what they knew they could prove. Gloria was arraigned and released on bail with a restraining order, 500 feet from Tiana, me, and our home. The fallout was instant. She started calling relatives, spinning her own version. It was a misunderstanding. Tiana overreacted. Patrick's controlling her. But then the report dropped. Public record. Black and white. And suddenly? Gloria didn't look like a concerned mother anymore. She looked like what she was: dangerous. Tiana's Aunt Stephanie, Gloria's own sister, called us in tears. "I'm so sorry. I always knew she was intense, but this? I can't believe she actually tried to hurt you." Her cousin Brandon drove in from Boulder. "Your mom always seemed a little overbearing," he said, "but this is straight up psychotic. You could have died, Tiana." Not everyone believed us. Gloria's friends, her loyal wine club, started calling to scold Tiana for betraying her mother. "She raised you alone after your father died." One woman named Diane told her, "You owe her." "She tried to kill me," Tiana said quietly. Diane hung up. But the legal process? That was just beginning. The trial was coming. And Tiana, my wife, my hero, was going to have to sit in court and relive the night her own mother tried to suffocate her. The trial began 4 months later, in March. Snow was still clinging to the edges of Denver's sidewalks, but inside that courtroom, things heated up fast. Tiana sat beside the prosecutor, Ms. Washington, a sharp, composed woman with a calm voice that could gut a grown man with facts alone. I sat behind her in the front row, my hand on her shoulder. She was nervous, but she didn't flinch. Gloria, meanwhile, entered with all the grace of a woman convinced she was being wrongfully persecuted. Black pantsuit. Hair done. Chin high. No remorse. Not even fake remorse. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into the bench before opening statements even began. The courtroom wasn't huge. A dozen jurors, the judge, Anderson, known for no-nonsense rulings, and a gallery filled with reporters, a few extended family members, and some people I didn't even recognize. The prosecutor laid it out clearly. Gloria Hayes entered her daughter's hospital room under false pretenses. She disconnected life-sustaining oxygen equipment during critical recovery. She ignored pleas to stop. She was only stopped because staff and I intervened. Gloria's defense? Concerned mother. That was the angle. Temporary emotional breakdown. Misunderstood. Her lawyer framed it as a moment of panic, fueled by love and desperation. But then came the footage. Silent security video from the hospital hallway showed Gloria walking calmly to the nurse's desk, lying to gain access, and entering the room. No panic. No emotion. No urgency. Just cold calculation. Then it cut to inside the room. The machine beeped, and we saw her yank the oxygen line. The entire courtroom went still. Even Gloria's lawyer winced. Tiana's testimony came next. She stood. Small-framed. Hospital pale. Still wearing the subtle compression socks under her pants, because post-op swelling was still a thing. But her voice? Steady. She told me I had to divorce my husband. That this was my chance to start over without him. I said no. She pulled out my oxygen and told me, then maybe this will convince you. There wasn't a sound in that room except the scribbling of the court reporter's keys. She recounted the panic. The gasping. The pressure in her chest. The fear that she was actually going to die in that bed, in that sterile room, while her own mother stood over her and did nothing. Then she pointed right at Gloria. She looked me in the eyes as I was suffocating. And she didn't stop. The nurses, Angela and Terence, testified next. They confirmed the vitals, the oxygen dropped to 78%, the red alarms flashing when they entered. Angela made it clear. She could have gone into respiratory failure in under a minute. Gloria's lawyer tried to rattle them. Suggested Tiana had exaggerated. That maybe the oxygen line had been pulled accidentally. Angela didn't blink. No. I've seen a lot of accidents. This wasn't one. Patrick, that's me, I testified too. I told them what I saw. How I heard the monitor blaring from the hallway. How I ran in and found Gloria still standing over my wife, as if she'd done nothing wrong. And the moment that silenced the jury? The audio. One of the machines in the room, probably unintentionally, had picked up Gloria's voice. It was faint, distorted, but you could clearly make out. If you won't leave him willingly, maybe this will convince you. Even the judge sat up straighter. Gloria didn't testify. Her lawyer advised against it. But she couldn't help herself. She shook her head dramatically through every witness, whispered to her lawyer during testimony, made exasperated sighs like she was the one suffering. Ms. Washington's closing argument was surgical. This was not a mistake. This was not panic. This was control. Gloria Hayes attempted to coerce her daughter by weaponizing medical vulnerability. This wasn't love. This was manipulation taken to a monstrous extreme. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. I held Tiana's hand the entire time. We sat in a small waiting room off the hallway. We didn't talk much. Just held hands and waited. When they came back, no one looked at Gloria. Guilty, the forewoman said. On both counts, aggravated assault and reckless endangerment. The courtroom didn't erupt. It didn't need to. The silence was heavier than any outburst. Then came sentencing. Judge Anderson was brutal, but fair. Ms. Hayes, you violated the most sacred trust a parent holds, the obligation to protect their child. You exploited your identity as a mother to gain access. You used that access to harm. This court finds your actions not only unlawful but morally reprehensible. She handed down 3 years in prison, 2 years probation after release, mandatory psychological counseling, and a 5-year restraining order that kept her 500 feet from Tiana, me, or our home. Gloria screamed in court. This is because of him. That man poisoned you. I am your mother. And Tiana, in the calmest voice I've ever heard her use, said, You stopped being my mother when you tried to kill me. The bailiffs led Gloria out still shouting. The door shut behind her. And just like that, it was over. Except, it wasn't. The aftermath was still ahead. Recovery. relatives, judgment, therapy, letters from prison. But something changed that day. Tiana got her voice back. I saw it. And for the first time in years, she looked free. The courtroom victory felt like a breath we hadn't realized we'd been holding for years. But if we thought a guilty verdict would close the chapter on Gloria's madness, we were wrong. Because while the trial ended with bars and sentencing, the fallout started with phone calls and whispers. First came the calls from extended family. Tiana's uncle Philip called the next morning, Gloria's brother. He sounded grim. I just can't believe she actually did it, he said. We all knew Gloria was controlling, but to pull her oxygen. Jesus. He was supportive. So was Aunt Stephanie, who stopped by with a casserole and hugs that made Tiana cry for the first time since the verdict. But not everyone was on our side. Some didn't even pretend to hide their judgment. Gloria's lifelong best friend Diane called us the day after sentencing. She didn't say hello, just launched straight into it. You've ruined her life, Diane snapped. 32 years she gave you, Tiana. Raised you alone after your father died, and this is how you repay her? Tiana stayed quiet. I didn't. She tried to kill her, Diane. She was emotional, Diane snapped. She wasn't thinking clearly. She raised you better than to treat your own mother like this. Blood is blood. Tiana finally spoke up. She made a choice. So did I. Click. Diane didn't call back. A few of Gloria's wine club friends followed her lead. One sent a handwritten letter, handwritten, on floral stationery, telling Tiana that a daughter who lets her mother rot in prison will one day answer to God. We posted that one on the fridge like a sarcastic trophy. You've got to laugh or you'll scream, Tiana muttered. But we weren't laughing when Gloria started writing from prison. The first letter arrived a week after sentencing. It was 5 pages long. Handwritten. Neat cursive. Opening line? You'll see one day that I was right. She didn't apologize. Not once. She called the trial a farce, claimed the DA manipulated the jury, and ended the letter by asking if we'd bring her a list of books she wanted for her cell. Tiana didn't read past the second paragraph. We returned the letter unopened with refused. Returned to sender. Scrawled across the envelope. But they kept coming. Every 2 weeks. Like clockwork. We returned every one of them. By month 2, Gloria was reaching out to mutual family. Trying to send messages through them. Her cousin Janine called us and offered a gem of a summary. She says she forgives you for overreacting. Tiana snorted. That's generous of her. Want me to tell her anything? Janine asked. Yeah, Tiana said. Tell her forgiveness doesn't come with visitation rights. The emotional toll was heavy. Tiana had just started sleeping through the night again. Then the nightmares started. Waking up gasping. Dreams of being in the hospital again. No air. No oxygen. Just her mother's voice saying, "You'll thank me." We got her into therapy. Dr. Nguyen, a trauma specialist, was a godsend. You don't have to forgive her to heal, she told Tiana. Forgiveness isn't a pardon. It's a release. And even that is optional. Tiana started journaling. Sometimes drawing. She designed a new logo for a women's health nonprofit in Denver just to feel like she was turning pain into purpose. Meanwhile, my school was supportive, at least mostly. Most of the faculty knew what happened thanks to a local paper's front-page headline. Mother convicted after daughter's hospital oxygen pulled during domestic dispute. One teacher, Mr. Petun, cornered me in the break room. It's a shame, he said while stirring powdered creamer into his coffee. I mean, family's family, right? Maybe she just snapped. She planned it, I said. She lied to get into the hospital. She'd already spoken to a divorce attorney. She waited until I left the room. Still, he said, shrugging. Maybe some therapy, family counseling. She tried to kill my wife, Mike. He backed off. But it stuck with me. That quiet pressure. That lingering idea that maybe we had overreacted. That maybe Mother still earned her a special kind of leniency. No. Not anymore. Because while others focused on the title, we were finally focusing on the person. Tiana was healing. Slowly. Bravely. Her scar was healing too. Faint, horizontal, just above the hip. She ran her fingers across it sometimes in the mirror. Not with regret, but with resolve. "This is where I survived," she said one morning, tugging her sweater down. "Right here." We stopped explaining ourselves. We stopped accepting invitations from people who said things like, "She meant well." Instead, we built a new family. Aunt Stephanie. Cousin Brandon. Patrick's parents. Helen with her famous apple pie. Walter with the awful dad jokes. Our little Sunday dinner tribe. And for the first time in months, Tiana smiled without flinching. "You know," she said one evening as we washed dishes together, "I think I'm starting to breathe again." Not metaphorically. Literally. She was sleeping deeper. Laughing more. Wearing her hair loose again instead of up in that tight bun she used to wear around Gloria. That's when I knew. The trial hadn't ended the story. It had just given us permission to start writing a new one. By the time summer rolled around, Tiana and I had started breathing easier, literally and emotionally. Her recovery was complete. Her therapist, Dr. Nguyen, had moved her from weekly sessions to bi-weekly. And for the first time since the surgery, she started talking about plans again. Not survival. Not recovery. Not court dates. Plans? "I want to go somewhere with air that smells like trees," she told me one evening, curled up on the couch. "No machines, no monitors. Just quiet." So we booked a long weekend at a cabin near Rocky Mountain National Park. 3 days. No cell service. We brought board games, marshmallows, and a Spotify playlist of music we never got tired of. We hiked slow, ate Chipotle on the porch, and fell asleep one night listening to actual coyotes howling in the distance. It was the most peaceful sleep Tiana had had in 6 months. But when we got back, a letter was waiting. This one wasn't from Gloria. It was from the State Parole Board. It read, "Gloria Hayes has requested a parole hearing for early release, citing good behavior and emotional hardship. You are invited to submit a victim impact statement." Tiana stared at it like it had crawled out of the mailbox. "She's only been in a year," she whispered. "A year, Patrick." The thought of Gloria getting out early, back in the world, maybe trying to find us again, turned my stomach. But Tiana didn't break. "Not this time. I want to write the statement myself," she said. No ghostwriting. No lawyer. Dr. Nguyen helped her draft it. She sat at the kitchen table for 2 days, writing, revising, deleting whole paragraphs, starting again. I stayed close but didn't interfere. This was her fight. Her closure. When she finally read it aloud to me, it was simple. Direct. "The woman you are considering releasing did not have a breakdown. She had a plan. She used hospital security, visiting hours, and my weakened state as weapons. She tampered with medical equipment. She stood over me as I suffocated. She watched me beg for air. She wasn't confused. She was in control. Releasing her early sends a message that violence within a family is somehow more forgivable. That if you share blood, the crime hurts less. I assure you, it doesn't. I still wake up gasping sometimes. I still dream of monitors beeping. I still flinch when I smell antiseptic. She had a choice. She made it. Please don't let her skip the consequences." She sent it off with shaking hands. "We didn't tell anyone, not even her aunt, until the board reached their decision. 2 weeks later, we got the letter, parole denied." The sigh of relief Tiana let out could have knocked the door off its hinges. "I didn't even realize I was still holding my breath," she said, leaning into my chest. "We didn't celebrate with champagne. We went to the shelter and adopted a dog. Her name is Junie. Half golden retriever, half who knows what. All heart. Junie's favorite thing in the world? Napping against Tiana's legs while she draws." Tiana started freelancing again. Designing logos, illustrations, even a little motion design. Not because she needed the money, but because she missed making things that mattered. And me? I finally printed the photo of us from the hospital the day she was discharged. She was in a wheelchair, wrapped in blankets, hair a mess, but smiling. I was standing behind her, eyes puffy, still in yesterday's shirt, but beaming. I framed it. Not as a memory of pain. As a reminder of survival. People still ask about Gloria sometimes, family members, neighbors who heard pieces of the story. But we don't talk about her like she's a chapter we're trying to keep open. She's the part of the book we finished and put down. Now we're writing new chapters. The kind with hikes and laughter. With Junie chasing squirrels. With Sunday dinners that don't come with emotional manipulation hidden in the side dishes. And for the first time in our marriage, we don't feel like we're fighting just to exist. We're living. It started with an email. Subject line: Keynote speaker invitation, Women's Health Advocacy Conference. Tiana opened it at 10:23 p.m. while we were watching reruns of The Office and Junie was snoring on her back, paws twitching in dreams. Is this real? She asked, blinking at the screen. It was. A Denver-based nonprofit that focused on women's health and patient rights had come across a blog post Tiana had written, something she'd published quietly under a pen name and forgotten about. It told her story, but stripped of names and dates. Just the facts. A woman. A surgery. A mother. A betrayal. A survival. They wanted her to speak. Just 10 minutes. The organizer, a woman named Rosa, told her on a Zoom call. You don't have to name names. You don't have to share anything you're not ready for. But what you went through, what you fought through, is something a lot of women are still afraid to speak aloud. Tiana agreed. Hesitantly. We practiced the speech in our living room. She rewrote it 6 times. Cried twice. Laughed once when Junie tried to chew on the corner of her printed notes. I'm not trying to be brave, she said the night before. I just want one woman out there to feel less crazy. Like maybe it wasn't her fault. The event was small, less than 200 people. Mostly women. Survivors. Nurses. Advocates. People who'd seen things that don't make it onto hospital billboards. Tiana wore a navy jumpsuit. No makeup, just lip balm. She stood behind a podium and read her story, her voice trembling only once, when she described waking up in that bed, gasping, and seeing her mother's face instead of mine. When she finished, the applause wasn't thunderous. It was quiet. A standing ovation built out of slow, deliberate rising. Not polite. Not performative. Respectful. A week later, a video clip of her talk made its way onto social media. Someone had filmed it, with permission, added captions, and posted it with the hashtag #SurvivorDoesNotMeanSilent. It got traction. Local influencers reposted it. A nurse from California reached out. A woman in Boston sent her a message. Your story is mine, almost word for word. I thought I was alone. Even a few men messaged her. Sons. Husbands. Partners. I've never heard anyone describe what that kind of control feels like so clearly. Tiana kept every message. Not because she needed the validation, but because she'd become something she never expected to be, a mirror for other people's survival. That's when the second letter arrived. It wasn't from Gloria. It was from Gloria's cellmate. Typed. Clean. Precise. You don't know me, but I've been living in the bunk across from your mother for the past 10 months. I'm writing to you not on her behalf, but yours. What she did to you, I didn't believe it when she first told me. Then I saw the article. The footage. I want you to know she talks about you every day. Not with remorse. Not with sorrow. With entitlement. Like you're a possession she lost. Like you're a debt someone else owes her. You were right to cut her off. You were right to testify. And you're right to keep those letters unopened. There was no signature. Just from someone who got out the long way. Tiana read it once. Then folded it. She didn't cry. Just stared out the window and said, I wonder if that woman ever had a daughter too. In the following weeks, she got more speaking requests. She turned most of them down. But she agreed to a podcast interview with a local therapist who ran a series called Trauma Truths. The episode went viral within a day. Not because it was salacious. Because it was raw. She didn't tell the story for pity. She didn't cry on cue. She just talked. About what it means to grow up with control disguised as love. About the quiet violence of being told your decisions are wrong before you even make them. About how betrayal doesn't always wear a ski mask, it can wear your childhood birthday party earrings. And in the last 5 minutes she said something that stuck with me since. People ask me if I hate my mother. The truth? No. I grieved her like a death. I buried the idea of her. And now? I just miss the mother I never had. That line, I buried the idea of her, got quoted everywhere. But she wasn't chasing fame. She was chasing peace. And slowly it was catching up to her. It came by certified mail. A thick envelope. Government seal. Return address from the state attorney's office. I signed for it without thinking, probably another update about Gloria's sentencing conditions, maybe something related to parole restrictions. But when I opened it, I froze. Inside was a notice. Gloria Hayes is seeking to overturn her conviction. Filing post-conviction relief petition. Grounds: violation of maternal rights and emotional coercion during trial. Requested: expungement of charges and early release pending review. I stared at the page, my fingers clenched so hard the paper creased. She's appealing? Tiana said behind me, reading over my shoulder. No, I said. She's trying to erase it. She sat down slowly, Junie nosing her leg. The petition was absurd on its face, Gloria claiming she'd been mentally unfit, that the prosecution had used emotional blackmail, and that Tiana's testimony was coached and dramatized. It was pure delusion. But the worst part. We were being summoned. Again. Tiana was being asked, again, to provide a sworn affidavit to contest her mother's claims. She could decline. But the prosecutor's office warned us, if she doesn't, the petition could proceed uncontested. It hit like a slap. All the healing, all the work, the letters, the therapy, the speaking, it all felt like it was being dragged backwards into the courtroom. Tiana didn't cry. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at the envelope like it was a bomb with a long, slow fuse. Then she looked up at me and said, "I'll do it." "You don't have to," I said. "We'll get a lawyer. They can fight it without you." "No," she said. "She tried to kill me. I told the truth once. I'll tell it again." Her voice didn't shake. But that night, when I came to bed, she was sitting upright in the dark, staring out the window. I didn't say anything. I just got in beside her and held her. "Do you think people can change?" she asked. "Not like that," I said. "Not when they think they're the victim." She nodded. Then whispered, "It's never really over with her, is it?" "No," I said. "But you are stronger now than she ever expected." And that's what scared Gloria most. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday. Room 5C, Jefferson County Courthouse, the same room where Gloria was convicted a year earlier. Different case. Same ghosts. We didn't invite anyone. No family. No friends. Just us, the prosecutor, and Gloria's attorney, a younger man this time. Slick suit. No wedding ring. No idea what kind of client he'd signed on to defend. Gloria entered in beige prison scrubs and handcuffs. She looked older. Not frail. Not broken. But weathered. As if prison hadn't changed her, just dried her out. She didn't look at Tiana. Not once. Tiana, however, did look at her. The judge asked for statements. Gloria's lawyer went first. He spoke in soft tones about stress, family trauma, emotional episodes. Said Gloria had suffered a dissociative break during the hospital incident. Said her incarceration was no longer restorative, only punitive. Then it was Tiana's turn. She walked to the podium. Her voice calm. Clear. "I've told this story before. In court. On paper. On a stage. I told it as a victim. I'm telling it today as a survivor." She didn't cry. She didn't plead. She just laid it out, one last time, what Gloria did, what she said, how close Tiana came to dying that night. Then she said something new. "My mother doesn't regret what she did. She regrets that she failed. And the moment she's free, she'll start trying again, maybe not with violence, but with control. That's who she is." The courtroom was still. Even Gloria's lawyer shifted in his seat. When the judge finally ruled, it was swift. Petition for post-conviction relief is denied. The original sentence stands. No further review will be granted. Gloria didn't speak. Not a word. But as she was led out, Cuffed and quiet, she turned her head and finally looked at Tiana. Her eyes weren't pleading. They were burning. But Tiana didn't flinch. She stood tall. Watched her go. Then turned to me and whispered, "It's done!" And this time? It was. We walked out into the Colorado sun, hand in hand, no press, no cameras, just us. The sound of car doors slamming in the parking lot. The faint rustle of wind. Life continuing. Not in spite of what happened, but in defiance of it. That night, we lit a fire in the backyard. Junie curled up at our feet. Tiana toasted a marshmallow and said, "I'm not her daughter anymore. I'm my own woman." And for the first time in a very long time, she smiled without a shadow behind it.